Welcome to Savvy Business, Life Unscripted, with your host, Christina Rivera, where our guests share their wisdom and valuable business tips, empowering our audience to expand their personal potential.
Hi, Mark Scott. Welcome to Savvy Broadcasting, Life Unscripted. I'm so grateful to have you here today. We're going to be talking about some really interesting topic. What's wrong with the supply chain? You're a retail expert. You started out with your unique experience working at Bloomingdales. I love Bloomingdales. I lived in New York most of my adult life. We're now living in Texas, and then you became a senior leader at Lord & Taylor, another wonderful store. But you have a unique perspective on retail and what's going on out there. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you betcha. So tell me, what's your perspective on what's going on? I know that some friends and people I talk to around the country are a little nervous. They're like, what's going on here? I go to some stores, some of the shelves are empty, and get this, in one of the stores my friend went to, they didn't have enough of the product, so they actually cut out some cardboard and put pictures of the product and then put that there. I was like, dude, did you think we think that was a product? Seriously?
Oh my God. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a rather unique situation. Obviously, it started with the pandemic and production stopped on everything. And what has happened is the demand opened up much greater than the supply, much quicker than supply. There's been a ton of pent up demand. And retail stores are doing incredibly well right now, and they just can't catch up in terms of the getting product delivered.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of the demand happened too quickly. Supply was behind to begin with, and it couldn't catch up. And then what happened was, obviously, everyone trying to get merchandise at the same time. Now that led to the situations at the docks with containers not being able to get unloaded because there were too many containers coming in too short a period of time. So then that stopped it. And then the final piece of the equation, was that there were about 70% fewer truck drivers than there used to be. So, the United States is one of the few countries where everything moves by truck, doesn't move by rail. And because of that, the supply chain in this country is hurt probably more than any other country. So it starts with the supply end, it leads to the docks, and then it leads to the trucks. So unfortunately, that's the situation we're in right now. Yeah. And it's not going to be, at some point, it's going to supply is going to catch up, but not anytime soon. So it's a difficult scenario for everyone right now. What companies are doing is they are trying to hire their own boats. Some companies are flying in merchandise, but all of that is going to have, unfortunately, a inflationary effect on everything because the price is going to be much higher.
Yeah, and we noticed that already with foods and certain things.
A container normally coming to the United States is about $2,000. A container coming in right now is about $15,000. So you just think about it on a price per item basis. Obviously, the price is going to get higher. And also, if you're looking at it as a retailer, because the demand is so high, you're going to raise prices anyway.
Yeah.
So, that's the inflation part of this. But unfortunately, it's a combination of lack of supply and tremendous amount of demand. And this is what happened is they're trying to catch up, but everyone's trying to catch up at the same time, whether it be grocery stores or, unfortunately, toys for Christmas, apparel, everything. Everyone wants to get their goods in because the fourth quarter for most retailers is far and away the most important quarter of the year.
Yeah.
So it's, I know companies that are, they've gotten to the point now where they're bringing the goods in and trying to get goods in, but they can end up getting goods in after the fact and have them ready for next year. They're not even going to make it for the shelves for this year. Yeah. So, which is going to, lead to another situation where all of a sudden now companies are holding a product for a year. And and the cost of inventory is going to go up. None of it is good.
Yeah. Well, explain for the audience. Let's go break it down because first the pandemic started and there was a lot of people who didn't go to work or were in lockdown. So that was part of the delay, right? Because truckers and people couldn't go to work. Is that what started to bring about the shortages? Is that people couldn't go make the products or go ship the products? Where was the change started?
Yeah, Christina, that's exactly where it started. I mean, I mean, a lot of the merchandise came from the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
Comes from the Far East, and in the Far East, the pandemic, I mean, production just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And the factories were closed and production stopped. Now, the business didn't altogether stop because there was a combination of some retail stores were open, but generally, the e-commerce business went through the roof. So because of that, the demand didn't really it slowed down, but not to the level the demand the supply slowed down. So there was always more demand than supply. And as people slowly but surely got back to work, it was catch up, and it's been catch up ever since. So you're not, you're dealing with normally if a delivery cycle say is 2 months, delivery cycle now can be 5 to 7 months.
Whoa.
And so if you didn't order the goods 7 months in advance, you're not going to see them in time for fourth quarter. So, and it's really been a disaster. I mean, my sister lives in Los Angeles. She said the docks, outside Long Beach, the number of containers, ships just sitting out there, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like they're lined up like soldiers. There's so many of them.
So now let's go there. So now the ships are lined up with shipping containers. They can't get shipped out because we're waiting for truckers to come get them and deliver them. Is that what the holdup is there at the docks?
Yeah, and it's also because there are so many at one time. They can't unload them quickly enough. So you have that problem exacerbated by the fact now that the trucks aren't there. So it's really, slowed down the delivery process from origin of product all the way to the consumer. Every step along the way has been slowed down.
Wow.
And it's certainly not going to rectify itself in fourth quarter.
No. Now, what do people have to know? And is there anything people can do to start making it better, the situation?
Well, it's interesting. It goes back from a supply chain perspective to the manufacturing. Merchandise, I've been in the business many, many years, and retailers used to be specialists. And retailers are now generalists. So they have very wide assortments of products, and all of them need to be on the shelves. So in my younger days in retailing, there was much more of a key item approach to product, where you knew your customer, you knew what they wanted, and you made sure that those key items were on the shelf, because those key items also represented the brand. So the brand stood for something. Now, because of the fact that everyone is a generalist, and it's all about price, everything gets made, and there's no longer a process of production it becomes very, very wide. It used to be much narrower. So now, if you have production issues across a wider selection of products, you're not going to be able to even have your key items. Best example of things like paper towels in a supermarket. There are no paper towels because every item in the grocery store is treated the same. So first of all, you're having a lot of demand. You're going to have more demand for paper products now because of the pandemic. So there's really, again, the catching up of this is going to take a long period of time. You cannot change the production as quickly as the demand warrants. It just doesn't happen.
Wow. Yeah. And so can people what can they do to make it better? Because I'm thinking if we all keep demanding, it's not going to make it better. We're always going to be behind. Can people learn to live with less or find different ways to, because, I went to a friend's house and they used Bounty to dry their dishes. And I was appalled when they took a whole bunch of rolls and were cleaning their dishes. I'm like, dude, get a cloth towel. What are you doing? You don't need a million Bounties to clean your dishes or dry your dishes.
Yes. I mean, what you just said is that's the next problem now. Now there's hoarding.
Yes. Yes, there is hoarding.
So people are, stocking up. Everyone's basements look like they have Costco in them now.
I know. And what is that going to do? I mean, how much paper can you? I thought it was very interesting when people were buying up toilet paper. I've always been one to not really pay attention to the news cycle and get into the negative, whatever. I'm just like, I notice it. Okay, this is going on. Let me just go about my life. I already worked mostly remote anyway, so I didn't let it get to me. But it was interesting. The minute the pandemic started, people were like hightailing to beat grandma to get some toilet paper. I was like, what the heck are you doing, dude? I mean, when things are getting shut down, the last thing I'm thinking about is wiping my buns. I'll go out there and get some grass. I just want to be able to eat and drink water and stuff.
It's funny because I mean, obviously that's one category where the demand really didn't go up, but people went crazy. I mean, it almost looked like when there's a blackout when everyone runs to get flashlights. I mean, toilet paper became this commodity that the entire world wanted.
Like gold.
And it was like gold. And it really was. And I don't know why but it was toilet paper. I mean,
it's bizarre.
You're not going to the bathroom more times because there's a pandemic. So that one didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And beating grandma over the head to get some toilet paper also didn't make sense. But, I guess people are weird when they get scared about something. They want to find a way to feel in control. And I guess this was their way to do it.
It's funny you say that because what happens is a lot of the basic commodities are done. Forecasting is the way they do projections for deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a history. So if the history of a product is X, toilet paper, and all of a sudden the demand becomes X plus, there's no way in the world you're going to catch up because this is all planned so far in advance and forecasted so far in advance. So a blip like that in the demand, it's impossible to catch up quickly. And it's, over the course of time, obviously, but so that's going to, that's the other piece of this. The demand curve was much different than it normally was. And most companies now, they use a lot of projection and forecasting tools based upon past history. Mm-hmm. And the past, in the case of the pandemic, you can throw the past history out the window because everything changed on the demand side.
Yeah, it did. And my personal suggestion is don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, if need be, you can go get some leaves if need be in your backyard. But really pay attention to things you might need. Maybe fill some containers of water or something, or keep a little extra food in the pantry. But don't go crazy about it. I used to, like you mentioned about, when there be hurricane or storms, people go out and get certain things. What used to be missing in Brooklyn where I was living was milk and bread. It's like, are y'all making French toast when there's a hurricane outside? What's up with that? But yeah, those were the two things that were taken off the shelf, like hot potatoes when there was a storm, like Hurricane Sandy, remember?
It's funny you say that because I lived in Manhattan for many years, and those two things that people in New York don't do is they don't cook at home, okay, and they're certainly not sitting around eating bread and drinking milk.
No, really. But I guess it's a human psyche. What would be your suggestion to kind of get people in the groove as things might get difficult to buy and to find in their local stores? What might they do to kind of make it more easy on themselves?
Obviously, I mean, you should be buying everything earlier and
planning.
And instead of buying as you need it, you need to buy it in advance. I mean, things, Christmas gifts, certainly food. I mean, if you were going to have a holiday dinner, all those things need to be ordered much more in advance than you used to. And if you don't, you're not going to be able to the worst thing in the world would be for your grandkids to go on the tree for Christmas and there's pictures of toys instead of the toys themselves.
Just like at the grocery store, my friend went to.
Exactly.
Here, so Timmy, look at this picture of what you're not getting.
So, and as you said, people have to understand, in terms of what they really need versus stuff that they really want. And they have to make sure they take care of what they really need.
Ooh, good point. Very good point, Mark. Because you can get really stuck on, I want these things, but do you really need them? Yeah, it's so true. Well, you have a great book coming out, and we're going to talk on that on Unleash Our Story, our other live stream coming up soon. But let everyone know where they can get a copy, find out more about it. ReTales is the name, Chronicles from my career in retailing when department stores mattered. Where can they get a copy of that and find out more about you?
The book is available on Amazon, both in paperback and in Kindle, and it really, it's kind of how a kid from Queens went from the stockroom to the boardroom.
That's awesome.
And that's really the story of my career.
I love it. I love it. And that's what I love about America is that you can start at the bottom and work hard and get your way to the top. And I still believe it's possible. I've done that at certain companies where I worked, and I started out actually in the mailroom myself. And then at the end, I worked in accounting as a manager. So it's possible.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's there's still, the American dream still exists.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a blessing having you, Mark Scott, coming here today to share your great wisdom. Thank you for coming to Savvy Broadcasting.
Like, subscribe, and share this episode. To listen to more savvy episodes and savvy biz tips, go to www.lifeunscriptedradio.com. To find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest, email Christina at lifeunscriptedradio.com.